For more updates, click on subscribe and click on bell button for latest notifications.
Hi friends, welcome to Tech Arkit YouTube channel. My name is Ravi. In this video session, we are going to see Linux interview questions and answers every Linux administrator should must learn. These are the very basic questions and common questions which are asked in every interview. So out of 76 questions, there would be a multiple questions of any interviewer can ask one of these questions for the interview. So if you prepare this video entirely, so I'm preparing two parts. One is on a 40 questions, another is on a 36 questions in a two parts. See the questions and answers from end to end. So you might be a advanced Linux or the experienced Linux administrator, or you are the beginner, or you are the mid of the Linux administration, intermediate person. Anything, anybody can learn these questions and answers just for the refresh. See that and understand what is the question and answer so that it will be easy for you to understand or prepare well for the next interview. Let's get started. What are those questions and answers? So this is going to be a long video. Stay and see from end to end so that you did not miss any basic questions from the this list. The first question here is command to check the disk usage. So what is the command to check the disk usage? That is the simple command, like you can use df-h, so which is in a human readable format of the disk space. So it will give you the all the partitions details in a clear manner, like what is the partition, what is the usable and all. And if you do the du-sh and provide the directory name or the file path, so it will give you that particular directory and the file size. So that's how you can verify that disk usage. Next one is difference between ps-aux and top command. Basically, what is the difference between ps and top command? So that is the major question here. The ps-aux, the top commands are both are used to view the information of processes running on Linux system, but they provide the different levels of detail and functionality. Example, the PS will also show the same processes information and the top will also show the same process information, but the top will provide the real-time changing processes details. The PS provides the snapshots of that processes. So that's the major difference here. So let's see, the top command provides a real-time interactive view of system processes. It continuously updates the displayed information and allows you to monitor the system resources usage and manage processes. So that is the major one. And the PS command stands for process status. So and is used to display the information about the active processes. So the processes which are left the processing table, then it will not show in the PS list, PS command list. So that's the difference between the PS and the top commands. Let's see. The next question is, what are the ways to check CPU usage information? So what are the ways? How many ways you can check, verify the CPU usage here? So one is tab command. Tab command will detailedly provides what is the CPU usage, and if you just press the one in the tab command, it will also give you the all the processes individual core usage as well. So that's the one way. And H tab, this is another way which will actually give you the a beautiful screen, the colorful screen, and it will give you the identification of what is the actual utilization and what is going high and what is going less and everything. And you can also use mpstat command, which can also provide you the CPU usage information, and sar command. So sar command is not actually the live data, but which is actually the data which is already stored into the log file. So that's the history of the CPU usage. You can get it from the sar command. Slash proc slash stat command is also can be used to see the CPU usage information. So these are the commands which can provide you the CPU information details. Let's see what is the next command here. How to check CPU details, like the CPU configuration. What is the CPU here, and what is the CPU model, what is the CPU and everything, how you can see that. Let's see. lscpu is the command which can provide you the CPU information, or you can also use /proc source slash CPU information, which can also provide you the CPU information, what is the CPU config and what is the CPU model and what is the speed of it, clock speed and everything can be seen on that two commands. That's the two commands here. And let's see, explain the steps to create the partition, how to format it with the file system. How, its simple question is that how to create the partition, explain in a step-by-step manner. Let's see. Identify the disk using the fdisk-l or lsblk command. So when you attach the disk to the Linux system, it can be found using the fdisk-l command or lsblk command. It will show the disk name like /dv slash sdb sdc, or based on the disk type it may provide sdd or something like that, or it is a NVMe disk, or it can also provide you like NVMe 001, something like that. First you have to identify the disk which is not partitioned one. Then you have to enter into the fdisk utility using the example fdisk slash the device path, like example /dv slash sdb. Then here the new disk path, so that is the new disk path of sdb. Then enter the, after entering the fdisk utility, press N, so that is for new disk partition, and press per P, which is a primary partition, E for extended partition. Most of the times, the first time when you create the disk partition, it should be in a primary one, and enter the partition number like 1 2 3 4, so until you can enter the four numbers, any of the number you can enter it. So the first partition we are creating, that's the partition 1. Then it will ask you to enter the size, like how much size out of the total disk space you wanted to create the partition. Example, the whole disk is 100 GB, you wanted to create like 20 GB or 50 GB or 60 GB, something like that. Then you have to add that 60 GB in 60 capital G, then that's the 60 GB size you have to provide. Then after that, colon WQ, which actually says the partition type. Then after that, you have to write the part probe, which will actually updates the kernel by providing the message that here is the new partition created on this so and so disk. After that, you can make mkfs, make file system, and xfs is the file system type. Either you can use ext3, ext4, XFS, or any other file system you prefer, but most of the times by default it's going to be a ext4 or XFS in latest systems. So that's the, and provide the partition number to format it. So that's how you can make the create the partition and format the file system and mount it if you wanted to use the mount command to mount that one. So next question is, explain the steps to create LVM or LV. So how we can create the logical volume. So that's the question here. Identify the disk using the fdisk-l or lsblk. Just like you have attached the new disk to your system, so you have to first identify that disk path in order to create that partition. Then after that, enter into the fdisk utility and make the partition, create partition, and change the type. So the first of all, when you create the standard partition, it's normally Linux, but for the LVM, so you have to change the partition type to Linux LVM. Then after that, select the partition name number, which partition number you wanted to convert it as, that the Linux LVM. Then code number is 8E, so which will convert the partition to Linux LVM. Then you can save that, and after that, again you have to enter the part probe to inform the kernel that okay, you have created the new partition. Then after that, pv create and provide the partition name path, it will create the pv. Then VG create, provide the VG name and the PV name. So it will create with LV create hyphen N, provide the LVM name hyphen L. So if you want to utilize everything which is LVM 100%, you can say 100% free. So which will actually create the entire VG space or the space you have on that particular VG. It will allocate entire space to that LVM and provide the VG name. So with which VG you wanted to use it, draw the LVM size and make MKFS file system on the particular path, and you can use the mount command to mount it. So this how you can make the LVM, create the LVM and make the file system and mount it. So that's the way you can do that. Next question is explain steps to reduce XFS and ext4 or ext3 file systems. So how we can do that? Shut down the, so first of all, you have to remember that in XFS, it officially does not support to reduce the LVM size. You cannot reduce the LVM size on XFS file system. Remember that it's not directly provided, so it's a third party steps at the steps which are not included, are not supported by the XFS file system. There are some remediations you can do that, but officially XFS does not support reduce. Okay, remember that one. So for ext4, what you have to do, so for the ext4 you have to shut down the application first which are hosted in that particular LVM path where it is actually mounted, and take the complete LVM backup first. Otherwise, if you make any changes or if you make any steps wrong, the data will be corrupted. So that's why make the backup first, so that it will, in case anything goes wrong, you can make reduce the stuff back. One more thing, unmount -L, unmount the partition which you are trying to reduce it, then hash out the fs tab entry to avoid in future anything to be mounted, something like that. And the file system must be ext2 or ext3 or ext4. XFS does not support reduced. Okay, you cannot do that. So how you have to do it here? So basically, before resizing, if you see that the LVM is 1 GB, then after that the LVM is going to be a 100 MB, something like that. So what you have to do? So you have to reduce the file system first. Then you can make the remaining step next. Unmount and verify the file system. You can do the e2fsck-f, so that it is there any bad blocks or anything, it will automatically fix it. Then resize to fs 1 GB size. First we have to make it to 100 MB file system. What I'm doing in 1 GB file system, I'm making to 100 MB. After that you run the reduce here, so it will reduce the LVM size, and again you remount the same file system, your file should be intact. So if you make any mistake here on the size, the data will be corrupted. Next question is significance of .bash rc file. So what is the significance of .brc file here in the Linux? .brc file is a script file that is executed by bash shell when a new interactive shell session is started. It is specific to the bash shell, is commonly found in user home directories on Linux and Unix like systems. So what is it can do? So customizing the Linux shell environment, like example, whenever the user is logged in, he wanted to have the prompt changed, execute some commands or anything, you can do that. And shell startup commands, so when the shell is startup and it will execute some commands, so that by default they get some prompts, copied files or anything, you want to do some actions, you can do that. User specific configurations, it makes the user specific configuration based on the users. They can also do that in the bash rc file. Portability, modularity and organization, so it can provide you the significant changes on that particular bash rc file. So it can be based on your organization stuff, you can make changes. Next question is how you check the kernel version. So it's a very simple question. There are two commands you can use it, like uname-r, which directly provide the kernel version name, or you can also use uname-a, which will provide the complete details about the kernel line. So that way you can identify the kernel version here. Next question is, have you checked the Red Hat release version? Is the command you can use that. So the first command is cat/etc/red hat dash release, so which is the file have the Red Hat release details, so you can do that. Significance of resolve.conf file. So what does resolve.conf file do here? /etc/resolve.conf file is a configuration file used by the DNS, so domain naming system resolver on Linux systems. It contains settings related to DNS resolution, which is the process of translating domain names into the IP address. The result.conf file plays a crucial role in a DNS resolution process on the Linux systems. What is DNS? How do you resolve DNS? Types of DNS records. So this is the three questions, the combination of a one question, like what is DNS? You have to explain the DNS, and how do you resolve DNS, how the DNS query is resolved, and types of DNS records. DNS stands for domain name system. It is decentralized naming system that translate domain names into IP address, such as example is 192.0.2.1. The DNS plays a crucial role in enabling the human readable domain names to be used to access the resources on the internet. Example, if you go to the browser, you just type google.com, but you can easily identify google.com, not like 4.3.125.5, right? So that is a different IP address. You cannot remember more IP addresses if you have the more domain names, right? So that's why the DNS makes the humans easy to read, and it will take the background to resolve that name to the IP address. So how do you resolve the DNS? So how it will resolve? Actually, when you enter the domain name in the browser address bar, so it actually go to your operating system, sends the DNS query to a DNS resolver, which is a DNS resolver. Example, it is provided by your ISP, or if it is your organization, it has a DNS entry on your resolver list. Example, /etc/resolve.conf. The DNS resolver checks its local cache to see if it is already has the IP address of the domain name. If not, it proceeds to the next step. The DNS resolver sends a recursive query to the DNS root server asking for the authoritative name server of a top level domain. Example, what of the domain name, like example yahoo.com or google.com, something like that. So the DNS root server responds with the IP address. So the DNS server will respond with the IP address and authoritative name server on the top level. Then the DNS resolve sends another recursive query to the authoritative name server for the domain, asking for the authoritative name server second level domain if you have anything. Then the process continues recursively until the authoritative name server domain is found. Then authoritative name server responds IP address corresponding to the requested domain name. DNS actually resolves caches the IP address locally for the future use, or the operating system receives the IP address that can establish the connections to the desired resource. So that's how the DNS resolves works. Example, it sends the DNS query when you enter the browser entry address, then the DNS will actually send to the authoritative DNS asking for the IP address. Then once the authoritative DNS have the IP address record, then it actually provides the IP address to the requested the domain name. Then the resolver will actually DNS resolver will caches the IP address for the futures reference. That's how the DNS resolution works. So what is the types of records you have here? So the A record, which is actually the domain name IP address with v4 IP address, and AAA, which is actually the domain name in IPv6 version, CNAME, which is actually the canonical name, MX record, which is a mail exchange record. So whenever you have the mail server, so it has the MX record to redirect your mail traffic. So that's one. And NS is a name server record, the specific authoritative name server for the domain. So whenever you build any domain, you should have some DNS authoritative so that it has the all your domain servers information or there. Text record. So this is actually the a long text records whenever you wanted to have like CD and redirections or anything. You can allow the addition of attribute the text to a DNS record, often used for the verification status, like the domain verification status and all. PTR record, which is called as a pointer records, maps the IP address to the domain name. So which is a reverse lookup record, I can say. SRV, which is a service record specify the location of the service information. SOA, start of authority record, authoritative information about the DNS zone, including the primary name server, contact email address, zone serial number, something like that. So these are the DNS records, which types of DNS records we have in standard. You can explain them, what of them, and how the traffic flows when the DNS query is done. Next question is, what is the difference between Nginx and the HTTP server? HTTP server is a software application that handles income HTTP requests from clients and servers the requested content. Nginx, actually pronounced as Nginx, is popular open source HTTP server software that also functions as a reverse proxy server, load balancer, and caching server. It was designed to efficiently handle a large number of concurrent connections and provide high performance. Basically, Nginx is also a HTTP server, but it's a software which also supports or provides the reverse proxy, load balancer, and caching services. That's the one. And HTTP is a server, which is the software application or the protocol which provides the web traffic resolutions. That's the one. The next question is port numbers of HTTP, FTP, SSH, and HTTPS. So these are the common questions which are asked in every interview. The HTTP port number is 80, FTP port number is 21, SSH port number is 22, HTTPS port number is 143. These are the port numbers on these protocols. Next question is, what is SSH? How to generate SSH keys? SSH is a cryptographic network protocol that provides secure remote login, command execution, and file transfer between two computers. It allows you to securely connect to a remote server over an unsecured network such as the internet. So example, if you want to connect to the remote Linux server, so you can use the SSH to securely connect, which is called as a secure shell. So how we can generate the keys? You can use ssh-keygen-t, and you can provide any type here. The type I have provided is RSA. Then it enter. It will ask you for the passwords. If you enter the passwords, or if you do not enter the password, also it will generate the SSH keys. So that's the way you can generate the SSH keys. What is private and public key? How they authenticate? So what is the difference between the private key and public key here? It has a long story, but I will keep it short to understand your information here. So the private key, a private key is a cryptographic key that is kept secret and securely stored by an individual or entity. It is a crucial component of asymmetric encryption algorithms like a RSA. The private key is used for creating digital signatures and decrypting data that has been encrypted with the corresponding public key. It should be kept confidential and not shared with any other. So that's the private key. So basically, whenever you're sending any data from your server to the remote server, the sender to the receiver. Actually, sender uses the public key to crypt the data, encrypt the data, and the private key actually use the key to decrypt the data. So that's the key pair. So next one is public key. So what is public key? Public key is derived from the private key and is made available to the others. It is used for encryption and verifying digital signatures created with the corresponding private key. The public key can be freely shared and distributed without compromising the security of the encryption algorithm, because you can share the a lock but not the key. So what they can do without key, they cannot do anything. So they can lock it, but they cannot unlock it. Say that's the private public key information. How they authenticate. Basically, how they authenticate. Once you generate the key pair, so they share the public key, and the client will authenticate using that public key. So the client sends the request to the server. The server responds by the sending the a challenge back to the client saying, so hey, this is the challenge. And the digital signature, the clients uses their private key to digitally sign the challenge sent by the server. This creates a unique digital signature that can only be verified with the corresponding public key. So that's way the verification would be done and authentication would be done. So the client sends the challenge, then servers decrypts the challenge, then that authentication will be resolved. That's the key here. Let's see what is the default configuration file of SSH. So the default configuration file for the SSH is typically named as sshd underscore config for the SSH daemon and ssh underscore config for the SSH client. These configuration files are located in /etc /ssh directory and the most of the Linux distributions. Next question is, what is the default configuration file of HTTP? So its a default configuration is httpd.conf, which is actually where located in /etc/httpd. Or if you install Debian based systems, which is actually located in /etc/apache2 directory. If it is a Linux based distribution, which is located in /etc/httpd location. So that is the httpd.config file is the default httpd configuration file. For the nginx, so it is also a http server, so which the configuration file is nginx.conf. This file is commonly located in /etc/nginx directory. In addition to the main configuration file, nginx also include the separate configuration files from the conf.d, so /etc/nginx/conf.d, so which is provide the site enabled directories for the further configurations. What is virtual hosting? Have you configured the virtual hosting? So virtual hosting means, what is virtual hosting? Virtual hosting, also known as a virtual hosting or shared hosting, is method of hosting the multiple websites or domains on a single physical server. It allows multiple websites to coexist and operate independently, each with its own domain name, content, and configuration, while sharing the same underlying server resources. Example, so you don't have the much servers, but you have the powerful single configuration server, so that you can use the same server to host multiple configurations. So where you can do the virtual configurations. Use the virtual host directive to define the separate virtual host for each domain website. So what you can do, you can use the virtual host directive in the configuration file to define the virtual hosting. So how we can define that? You can edit the httpd.config file. Under that you can define the virtual host, and in the virtual host directive you can mention the server name, document root, and where is the configuration file and everything, and you can save that configuration and the port number. If you want to redirect to the different virtual hosting and the different port number on the same server, you can do that using the virtual host directive. In that you can maintain multiple virtual hosts. Explain if config command. So what is the if config command? Explain it. Ifconfig command, short for interface configuration, is a command line utility used in Linux like operating systems or Unix like operating system, including Linux, to display the configuration of network interfaces on a system. It provides information about network interfaces such as IP addresses, network mask, MAC addresses, and other network related parameters like whether this interface is up, down, so all these details. So what is the difference between IPv4 and IPv6 here? IPv4 is the Internet Protocol version 4 and IPv6 is the Internet Protocol version 6. Two different versions of the Internet Protocol, which is an IP, which is the set of rules governing how data is transmitted over the internet. So that is the main goal of how the data is transmitting between using the IPv4 and IPv6. IPv4 have the so many digits, like example how many digits you have in the IPv4 is 32-bit numbers and IPv6 is the 120-bit number, and the address format example for the IPv4 will have the 4 octets like 192.168.1.1 something like that, and the IPv6 will have octet like 4 2001 0db 85a. So there are so many hexadecimal numbers is included in IPv6. um, for the address configuration, so IPv6 can be used for dynamic host configuration protocol, which is an DHCP. For the IPv6 we have to use SLAAC, which is called as a stateless address auto configuration for the IPv6. So that's the IPv4 and IPv6 difference. What is MAC address? Can we change the physical address, which means that can we change the MAC address of any physical device like the network card? Let's see that. A MAC means media access control. Address is a unique identifier assigned to a network interface card, which is called as an NICA. At the hardware level, it is a 48-bit address usually represented as a 12 hexadecimal characters that is globally unique value. So each single NIC card will have a one unique global MAC address. MAC addresses are used to in Ethernet and Wi-Fi networks to uniquely identify network devices on a local network. MAC address is assigned to a manufacturer and embedded in a network card's firmware. It serves as a parameter and a unique identifier as the device, allowing to identify on a local network. MAC addresses are used in the process of transmitting data between devices and the data links, so you cannot change that MAC address of any device. So that is unique value and fixed value for that particular network card. How to check system uptime? So what is the command you can use or how to check the system uptime? Uptime is the command where you can check it, or W is the command where you can also check the uptime on the Linux systems. How to check memory information? Free is the command you can use to check the memory information, or cat/proc/meminfo can also give you the memory information on the Linux server. What is swap? For the swap, I have made a particular video, a detailed explained video on the playlist. If you want to understand that, you can just go ahead and see that the what is swap in my channel. Swap refers to a space on a computer's hard drive that is used as a virtual memory by the operating system. It serves as an extension of the computer's physical memory, which is called RAM, random access memory, and provides a way to temporarily store the data that does not fit in RAM. Example, you have opened too many applications. Example, you have 10 to 12 GB of RAM, but you have opened so many applications which cannot handle by the RAM. What it actually do? Which are inactive applications or not used at the active window right now, which moves from RAM to the hard drive. So that way the RAM gets freed up and provides a good performance to your system. So that is called as a swapping information between your RAM and the hard drive. That is called as a swap. When a computer runs out of physical memory due to a heavy usage or the demanding applications, physical memory means RAM. The operating system may move inactive or less frequently use data from RAM to the swap space to free up memory for more active processes. This process is known as swapping or paging. That's the swap. What is cache memory? What is the cache memory? Cache memory is type of high-speed memory that resides between the CPU, central processing unit, and the main system memory in a computer system. It's to store frequently accessed data and instructions to improve overall system performance. The caching which actually provides the higher output ratio like read-write performance on the disk. So this is actually the high speed memory like SSD drives or the high sequence memory, which is actually the in compute system. Then whenever the write request comes, it actually first write to that high speed memory and send the acknowledgement to the client saying that hey, your data is written, your data is written. Then after sending the confirmation, the data will be written to the hard drive. So that's the high speed cache memo can be provided by the cache. What if you can do rm-rvf slash, so what it will do? It will actually execute the command of rm-rvf would attempt to recursively and forcefully delete all the files and directories starting from root directory in a Linux system. This command is extremely dangerous and can lead to irreversible data loss and system instability. So here in latest model of operating system like RHEL 7, RHEL 8, RHEL 9 are the later versions. If you run this rm dash rf or rvf slash, then it does not execute anything. But in a older versions, if you do that, so it will delete the entire Linux file system data and everything on that from that particular slash. Deleting the root directory and its contents would effectively erase the entire file system, including critical system files, configuration files, user data, and even the operating system itself. It would be, it would render the system inoperable and require a complete reinstallation to recover. So that's the command is very dangerous. Do not run it in any of the systems. What kinds of permissions in a Linux? What kinds of permissions you have on the Linux? So in Linux, there are three basic types of permissions that can be assigned to files and directories. One is an read, write, execute. Read, write, execute. 142. 142. So read is on a 4, write is on a 2, and execute is on 1. So that's how it works. These permissions are set for three different categories for the users and the owner of the file or directory, the group of associated with the file or the directory, and all other users. So users, owners, which are the owners, are the group members or others. Those are the permissions can be provided in a different manner. What is VI and VIM? So VI is a virtual text editor that was created in 1970s and available on the most Unix-like operating systems or Linux-like operating system. It has minimalist and lightweight design usage, key combinations for different operating systems or operations. It is known as its model editing. VIM is enhanced version of VI, often considered a superset of VI. It retains the core functionality, keyboarding, like key bindings of VI, while introducing many additional features and improvements. VIM M provides a more user-friendly interface, including syntax highlighting, code folding, multiple undo redo, split windows, plugins, and more. It supports customization through its configuration file, allowing users to tailor to it their performance. So that's the major difference between VI and VIM. Both editors are designed for efficient text editing and offer powerful features for both casual user and advanced users. What is pipe? So what is the pipe symbol here? Linux in Linux-like systems, a pipe symbol represents the pipe operator. It is used to connect the output of one command the input of another command. So what it will do actually, it will send the one command output to the another command to input the data, allowing the output of the first command to serve as the input for the second command. So that's the pipe sign will helpful. When you use the pipe operator, the output from the proceeding command is sent directly to the input of the controlling command. Directive data flow between two commands enables you to flexible command line workflows. So um, that is the pipe. Example here, you can see cat file name, and you can do the pipe and grep use the grep word. So that what it will do, so the file content input is passed to the grep command, and the grep will do the grepping of that word. What is grep command? What is the grep command here? The grep command is powerful tool used Linux like operating system or Unix like operating system, including the Linux, to search for the text patterns within the files. So which are huge files, you can use the pattern to find out what are the word you are looking for output of the other commands. It stands for global regular expression print. Global regular expression print. Example, grep, you can use the word and the file. Out of this file, so whatever the word is matched, it will provide that uh, information. What is the find command do? So what is the find command basically do? The find command is a powerful utility in Unix like operating system, including Linux, that allows you to search for files and directories based on the various criteria, like what is the criteria you provide, and recursively trace versus directory hierarchies, locating files and directories that match the specific conditions. So what is the conditions you provide? Example, the modified file time, change time, or create time, or anything. You can do that. Username, permissions, directory size, file size. There are so many other stuff you can use that in the find command. So example is find and provide the path and what is the expression you want. So you can provide that. Um, how to redirect commands output? How to redirect commands output? So how we can redirect? So you can redirect the output of the commands to a file or another command using the redirection operation. So one is output redirection. You can use the single redirection sign, which actually redirects your output to the another file. So if you want to append the file, so which already contains some content, you wanted to append the same one with the output, you can use the double redirection signs. You can also update that. But if you want to give the input to the terminal, what you can do is that you can use the reverse input line and provide the file name, so it will send the input to the terminal. And discard output, example, how you can discard the output, you can just send any data to the slash dev slash null, it goes off, way off, like it does not show any data or it does not show any data, it's just a null data, it's a black hole. What is System D in Linux? System D is a system and service manager for Linux operating systems. It is designed to replace the traditional sysv an IT system, initialization processes, and provides the range of features for managing the system services, handling the system startup and shutdown processes, and monitoring the system state. So that's the system D will do in the Linux. If you run the command line NA utilities in the terminal, whether it will block your terminal or not. So it will block or it will not. In general, running a graphical command like NA utilities. So from the graphical command NA utilities like NA utils in the terminal will not block the terminal. When you execute a command like NAUtils from the terminal, it launches the file managers in a separate graphic window. If you do not have the graphic window, what you can do is that NAUtils and provide the and sign, so it will actually runs in the background. The terminal remains available for the further commands while graphic application NAUtils runs in a independently. After launching NA utilities from the terminal, you will see the graphical file manager window appear and you can interact with it to browse files and perform file management operations. Meanwhile, the terminal is ready to accept new commands, allowing you to execute additional commands to perform the other tasks. So it won't block the terminal when you execute the NA utils. What is RSys-log? RSys-log is a robust and highly configurable open source logging system, which is like in a Unix-like operating system or including Linux. It is a replacement for the traditional syslog system and provides advanced features for centralized logging, log filtering, and log forwarding. So that's are the all commands, around 46 commands 46 questions and answers and the commands I have explained in this video. Please subscribe and join this YouTube channel for unpublished videos and courses if you want to access it. So there are so many other videos which is actually not publicly published. So these are unpublished videos on the channel. If you want to learn something, uncut videos can be available by joining the YouTube channel. Please subscribe and support for more like this videos in future.
Please follow us on social networking sites. One is Facebook. The Facebook page name is @Linux ARKIT. You can click on this button here and click like page so that you can follow us on Facebook. The next one is Instagram. Instagram name page name is arkit.co.in. Click on follow button to follow me. And Twitter, if you have any questions on subject line or if you have anything, you can just tweet me at ravikumar48, so I will reply you most on the tweet back. For anything related, if you want to latest articles on my website, so here is my website details and email address details. You can reach me over here.